Welcome back to the broadcast of Your Next Move Grand Chess Tour. This is the decisive final round of the event where Magnus Carlsen is already the champion, but the second place is still out there. Wesley So is currently on second place with 20 points, followed by Levon Aronian on 19.5, and on fourth, Vishy Anand with 19. Any of these three players could still finish on the second or third place, depending on how they play now in the last round, which has just begun.
It's going to be challenging to keep track of all the action, but it's too good a game to pass up the encounter between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. Even though Magnus is already locked in for first, he is going to take it seriously against Hikaru, and we see he's not experimenting in the opening. He's employing a line he's played throughout the tournament. The Nimzo Indian with knight f3, castles, bishop g5. Hikaru's come prepared, c5, e3, cd, ed. They've played this in, I believe, in Paris in the rapid d5, where Magnus went something like, I can't remember unfortunately, a3, bishop e7, bishop d3, and got nothing after b6. But this time around, looks like the game is going to be a little different. Nakamura just played h6, asking this bishop to clarify its intentions. It maintains a pin, goes to h4, and black has to choose if he wants to go directly for an isolated queen's pawn position with d takes c4, or play a different move. I believe bishop e7, a3, b6 is what they played last time around, but Nakamura decides to deviate, goes knight to c6. When the ball is in Carlsen's court, can you go c5 here very ambitiously? Do you go a3 to clarify what this bishop wants to do? Do you go cd5? Many options. He's went with a3.
Bishop e7 on the board. He doesn't want to give up, of course, this bishop for the knight on c3, and already played knight e4 as well.
Well, Carlsen went with c5. This is the most ambitious attempt in the structure, avoiding an isolated queen's pawn, trying to grab space on the queen side. And after c5, knight e4, we have a position I won't have time to show, but that normally occurs from the Panov attack, completely different opening. And goes to show these players have to be fluent in many different lines, even if they don't play them. This is a structure you get after e4, c6, d4, d5, ed, cd, c4 normally. And Magnus does what you're supposed to do in such a position. He goes bishop b5, fighting for the e5 square, threatening in some lines to take on c6 followed by knight to e5, especially if Nakamura were to stabilize his knight with f5. That would, of course, be very strong.
Yeah, and the black bishop could end up being a really bad bishop in case of a capture on c6. He has taken on c3, and after rook takes.
The question is normally if e5 works in such a position with very direct tactics. Bishop takes c6, e takes d4, check is the idea. White is a choice. Rook e3 might look tempting, but then black will just go e4. And something like this, I believe, should be quite bearable for black. Maybe even bishop a6 to keep the king in the center. Therefore, Magnus castles immediately. Castles when, once again, black has to decide what to do. I believe you're... he goes bishop g4. That is a better move. I was going to say ed4 looks tenable, but white would be a little better there. Well, after bishop g4, I've seen something like this. But here, black is normally in time to neutralize white's small initiative. Even if you exchange everything, go rook d8, try to push your d-pawn. There is not all that much for white to get in this position. Let's see if Magnus Carlsen can come up with anything else. But as far as I know, de5 should be the way to go here. Gotta meet the threat of knight takes d4, and after bishop c6, bc6, you're just improving black's structure. e4 is a threat, de bishop f3 is fine for black. We'll see, but it looks like Hikaru Nakamura has come out of the opening well. Carlsen does go bishop takes c6. Nakamura looks surprised because that is not the main approach in such a position. Goes bc6, what else? And once again, Carlsen has to show what he wants.
He will have to do something about this e4 threat, as you mentioned, and if he captures on e5, that will be just an equal position. He does go for it.
He does it, but things haven't gone well for him. de bishop f3, if anybody's better here, it's black. Carlsen's going to have to defend. Rook f3, queen takes e5 or c5 are both possible, but Nakamura's going to take on e5. Let's juice here, pawn b4. Now, even a5, activating your rook. Black already has a passed pawn. Black is slightly better here, if anything. Could also go rook e8, fighting for the e file. Zero problems for Hikaru Nakamura. That maybe gives us a chance to see how the race for second place is going. Vichy Anand is doing what he's doing against Fabian Caruana. He's repeated this gioco piano. Position looks very, very equal to me, so a draw for Vichy is very likely. Wesley So, the other top contender, currently in second place, is a pawn up against MVL, but MVL has some positional compensation, so anything can still happen in this game. And the third game...
Sorry, I just wanted to mention that if I saw it correctly, the rook was hanging on a1, but it's not a position where you want to give up your fianchetto bishop for this a1 rook, so he didn't capture it.
And the third game relevant to the standings is the game between Topalov and Levon Aronian, where, to my mind, Topalov has a pleasant advantage with the two bishops against Aronian's knight and bishop. It looks like Veselin Topalov is doing very well here, which would be bad news for Levon and his many fans. Bishop g4 is what he's done. And back to the main game of the day, arguably between Carlsen and Nakamura, where Carlsen is, I believe, trying to exercise damage control, has exchanged the queens here. Now he's going to go rook d3. He can't really be worse, but if he can be better remains to be seen. Well, champion thinking is down to about 2 minutes. It is a crucial decision. I would probably blitz out rook d3, but he's weighing his options if he can allow this pawn to advance even further, go something like king f1, d3, rook d1, maybe even some more active moves, but rook e7, d3, rook f takes f7. It seems like black is in time for minimum petrol.
Well, now that we have just talked to Luke van Willy, we see his boy Anish Giri losing to Vladimir Kramnik very quickly. We will later check what happened in that game.
Yeah, Nakamura looks slightly bored even. The position is perfectly fine for him, and he's just picked up the c5 pawn, simplifying to a drawn rook endgame after rook takes c5, rook d4. Black could even get mildly interested in rook d1 check followed by c5, when white has still to exercise some caution, I believe.
Wesley So has finished his game. I guess that means a draw.
Yep, it did end in a draw.
20 and a half points for Wesley So. He can be caught if Levon Aronian wins. They will be tied for the second place.
Let's see how Levon is doing. I didn't like his position earlier, and yeah, this is not the... maybe it is the current position. Maybe they repeated moves. Rook c3, bishop g4, rook c4, bishop e6.
It seems Levon down to a minute and a half, thinking whether he should repeat or if he still has some chances to play for a win. He needs a win to get second place here in Leuven.
And Magnus seems to be in trouble. After the c5, he couldn't find anything better than rook d1, and now he's going to have to survive this rook ending a pawn down after c takes b4, which might still be a draw, but it won't be so easy. Maybe it is easy. He's got king c2, he wants to move his rook somewhere and put his king on b3, and there should only be limited winning chances for Hikaru Nakamura. He's trying by grabbing some space on the king side. Starts with g5. I guess Magnus is gonna go something like, I don't know where, rook h3, rook d3, clearing this b3 square. He's going rook e3.
Aronian has gone for the repetition of moves. That means that the winner of the tournament, as we already knew, is Magnus Carlsen. Second place goes to Wesley So, and third for Levon Aronian.
Yeah, Aronian didn't like his position enough there to take risks and try to catch up with Wesley So. The players also have to keep in mind that there are points to be made for the overall standings of the Grand Chess Tour. Therefore, Levon decided to grab third place without risking to be overtaken himself by Vichy Anand. In our rook endgame, Carlsen fighting for a draw here, pawn down against Hikaru Nakamura. He's trying to exchange off one pawn on the king side. When if black goes, let's say, rook f1, I guess he wants to play something like rook g4, f6, f3. But you have to be very, very careful here. And Hikaru found a nice move, b2, king takes b2, rook d2 check. King c3, I guess, takes, g4. The question is, can the white king come back in time? G4, rook f4 could be a problem. No, apparently it's not. Magnus calculated that takes, king d4 is a draw. Therefore, Hikaru has to try something else. Let's see if he goes f5, which to me looks like a draw. And yeah, he's played king g7, because f5 you take, rook takes, king d3, the king is close enough. So g4, king g7 is on the board, king d3. This should be a fairly straightforward draw now. f5 has been played, g takes f5 will happen. And it doesn't matter what you do, rook f5 or king f6. The king goes to e3, and it's not cut off far enough in order to generate winning chances here.
Of course, Hikaru still wants to try, even though this is a theoretical draw. He will make a few more moves at least.
Magnus goes rook e6, cutting off the black king along the 6th rank. If rook f6, he could just take and go king. Can he? Yeah. King e4, king e6, king f3, king f5, king g3. This is a draw with a pawn already on g5. Therefore, it's very hard for Hikaru to improve his position here. I guess he's going to play king f7, asking this rook to reveal his intentions. When after, let's say, rook a6, he could at least go rook e5, try to cut off this king along the e-file.
This is what he does. Magnus Carlsen rook a6, and now we shall see the moves you have just explained.
Rook e5 on the board, king d4, rook e6 is still a draw, so the rook has to go somewhere along the e-file, rook e1, and Carlsen goes king d3. Some lines it's crucial that you can defend with rook a2 followed by rook e2, offering this exchange of rooks to reclaim access to the e-file. But
Rook
maybe
e8.
it is enough just to wait. Rook e8 is hinting at ideas with g4 followed by rook g8. Carlsen seems quite confident that he can just wait here. I guess after g4 you go rook to b4, g3, rook g4, and rook g8. The king just comes back. So this is not a serious attempt. It looks like the world champion knows that this is a draw and how to draw it. Not his finest of games, but he is exercising enough damage control not to lose his game to Hikaru. He's shaking his head, knows there's not much to do. Let's see if he finds one last try. Trying to remember an idea, goes rook e6, of course.
And this is
offering
a draw.
drawn pawn endgame. And he's gonna
will
stalemate Magnus just because he can.
Yeah, he will stalemate him. It's true, they don't want to. Oh, yeah, no, I thought it was a handshake, not yet. They will reach a stalemate position. Yes, the world champion knows how to stalemate. In a pawn endgame draw, Magnus Carlsen is the champion with 23 points. That is 2.5 points ahead of Wesley So, and even more points with the rest of the field. Vishy Anand has just finished his game. Has he won on time?
Not sure. Looks not. Looks like there's still time on Fabiano's clock.
I see 0-0-0.
Isn't
Maybe
it 0-0-8?
Or maybe they agreed to a draw and then they didn't stop the clocks.
Not sure what happened there. Let's see where tournament director Malcolm Payne puts the kings. That's normally
Shake
an
hands.
indicator.
And there's
That doesn't make it any easier to see it. We will never know. It did end in a draw.
It's 8 seconds left, so it wasn't 0-0-0 as I saw it. That means that the standings will not change at all. The players finish where they were before this round. At least the very first places are the same, and at the bottom, I believe there has been no major changes. Neither. Let's have a look at it. Magnus Carlsen, 23 points, the champion. He finished second in Paris and he wins the Grand Chess Tour here in Leuven. Wesley So, 20.5 and 20 points for Levon Aronian. So these are the top 3 places, followed by Vishy Anand on 19.5, and the rest of the field quite far behind. Fabiano Caruana has managed to finish on 5th. He was at the bottom when we began today's round. We have Maxime Vachier-Lagrave on the 6th place, and if we can scroll down for the rest, we will see who finished at the very bottom of the standings. Can we? Nakamura on 7th, the winner of Paris Grand Chess Tour, finished Well, at least not at the very bottom, but it's not a good tournament for him, that's for sure. 16 points for the former world champion Vladimir Kramnik, just like Anish Giri on 16, they share 8th place, and at the very bottom, Veselin Topalov. How do you evaluate the players? Who do you think are happy with their scores? Of course, Magnus Carlsen should be very happy. Do you think that Vesely, Levon Aronian, Vishy, are they satisfied with their play here?
Yeah, Wesley's strategy has worked amazingly well here, trying to avoid losses, made a lot of draws and picked up the points where he could. He's always well prepared, a good tactician, which helps in quick chess formats. He's shown he belongs in this company. He's going to be happy. I believe Vishy is going to be happy because, yeah, he had a very respectable outing throughout. Levon, I always think, is in contention with these time controls and these guys. He doesn't always finish near the top. This time around he did. So yeah, all these guys can be satisfied. I'm guessing Hikaru Nakamura is not going to be thrilled with his performance. Anish Giri didn't impress us. Vladimir Kramnik was very up and down. Veselin Topalov is not supposed to be a specialist at faster time controls. His score was still respectable. MVL, a small disappointment. I always expect more out of him as well. But overall, no big surprises. The world champion managed to pull it out. Congratulations to Magnus Carlsen. Very convincing victory.
Yeah, and he managed to win this tournament after having a mini meltdown on the first day. He lost 2 games. The first day of Rapid here started normally for him, the three rounds. He had a few draws and a victory. And then he just lost 2 games, even with a piece blunder that we could not understand against Nakamura.
He did, but unfortunately for him, there are 27 rounds total, so overall, through the course of the event, he was the strongest player, especially today, where he started with 4 out of 5, while everybody else was crumbling. He pretty much locked up victory, so convincing win for the world champion, who is not going to play in all the Grand Chess Tour events. That means that for everybody else who has high finishes, the overall victory in the Grand Chess Tour is still very much up for grabs. Hikaru Nakamura won the first event. Wesley did well in this one, so did Levon Aronian, Vishy, and so on and so forth. I believe there is an official closing ceremony which is going to be upstairs at 5 p.m. So for people who have stuck with us who want to see the closing, they have to move to the first floor where the action is going to be from now on. Looks like the timing is too short for us to have any guests, so thank you guys so much for sticking with us all these days. Anna, famous last words.
Famous last words. I wish I watched Game of Thrones. We really enjoyed being here in Leuven, this building, 15th century, 3-story landmark building, the Town Hall of Leuven, and also the tournament was one of the strongest events of the year, so we hope that you enjoyed following it. Rapid and Blitz is always more spectacular than classical chess. Sometimes for people it's too long to watch a classical game, but Blitz and Rapid do bring a lot of action in short periods of time. We hope that you enjoyed our commentary with Jan, and we hope to see you at the next events here on Chess 24.